The Rough Collie is a long-coated breed of medium to large-sized dog that in its original form was a type of collie used and bred for herding in Scotland. Originating in the 1800s, it is now well known through the works of author Albert Payson Terhune, and through the Lassie novel, movies, and television shows. There is also a smooth-coated variety. Some breed organizations, including both the American and the Canadian Kennel Clubs, consider the smooth coat and rough coat dogs to be variations of the same breed. Rough Collies generally come in shades of sable, merles, and tri-colored. This breed is very similar to the smallest Shetland Sheepdog, which is partly descended from the Rough Collie. History. Both rough and smooth collies are descended from a localized variety of herding dog originating in Scotland and Wales. The Scottish variety was a large, strong, aggressive dog, bred to herd Highland sheep. The Welsh variety was small and nimble, domesticated and friendly, and also herded goats. When the English saw these dogs at the Birmingham market, they interbred them with their own variety of sheepdogs, producing a mixture of short and long-haired varieties. After the Industrial Revolution, dog ownership became fashionable, and these early collies were believed to have been crossed with the Borzoi to get a more noble head, which is today one of the true characteristics of the Rough Collie. It is not known conclusively if the Borzoi cross made it into the mainstream of the breed. When Queen Victoria acquired a Rough Collie, after seeing one at Balmoral Castle, they were transformed into something of a fashion item. Continued breeding for show purposes drastically changed the appearance of the dogs. In the 1960s, it was a much taller dog than it is today. Earlier dogs were also more sturdy in build and reportedly capable of covering up to 100 miles in one day. In the UK, the Rough Collie is no longer used for serious herding, having been replaced by the Border Collie. Though in the United States and a number of European countries, there has been a resurgence in the use of the Collie as a working and performance dog. The Collie Club of America is one of the oldest breed-specific clubs in existence in the United States. The Collie Club in England dates from 1881. Quoted from Collie Club of America. Unfortunately, the Collie's exact origins are shrouded in obscurity. It has been the subject of much research and speculation. The word collie is as obscure as the breed itself. The name has been spelled many different ways: collie, collie and collie. Generally, the most accepted origin of the word is col, the Anglo-Saxon word for black. In the 18th century, the Rough Collie's natural home was in the Highlands of Scotland, where he had been used for centuries as a sheepdog. The dogs were bred with great care in order to assist their masters in the herding and guarding of their flock. Without a doubt, it is to the English fancy of the late 1800s that the breed owes its development as a popular show dog. Rough Collies were first exhibited in 1860 at the Birmingham, England Dog Show, in the generic class Scott Sheepdogs. In 1879 the first English Rough Collie was imported to this country. It is from England that we find the famous pillars of the breed, from which the American fanciers sought not only their next big winner, but also their foundation stock. By the turn of the century, the American Rough Collie was in a state of continued development. The breed continued to flourish in England. American show prizes were dominated by the British imports. As a result of the imports, the breed made rapid progress between 1900 to 1920. These dogs built the foundations upon which the present-day Rough Collie is based and paved the way for the emergence of the great American kennels of the 1920s and 1930s. The word may trace to Gaelic or an Irish, in which the words for doggy are, respectively, Carolian and Caqdillion. This would be more consistent with the breed's origin in the Gaelic-speaking Scottish Highlands than an Anglo-Saxon term. Description: Appearance. Three coat colors are recognized for Rough Collies: sable and white, where the sable ranges from pale tan to a mahogany. Tricolor, which is primarily black-edged in tan. Blue merle, which is mottled gray. All have white coat areas, in the collar, parts of the leg, and usually the tail tip. Some may have white blazes on their faces. In addition, the American Kennel Club accepts white, where the dog is predominantly white with colored markings of sable, tricolor, or blue merle on the head and sometimes body patches. Rough Collies have a blunter face than the smaller, but otherwise very similar Shetland Sheepdog, which is partly descended from the Rough Collie. The planes of the muzzle and the top of the skull should be parallel in Collies, with a slight but distinct stop. The downy undercoat is covered by a long, dense, coarse outer coat with a notable ruff around the neck, feathers about the legs, a petticoat on the abdomen, and a frill on the hindquarters. The size and weight varies among breed standards. Male Collies can stand 55.8 to 66 cm at the shoulder. The female average is 5 cm shorter. The males are usually in the weight range and the females are usually 5 to 10 lbs less. Collies in the U.S. are sometimes reported to be over 100 pounds. A large collie typically weighs no more than 85 pounds. USA and UK standards may differ. The UK standard calls for dogs to be significantly smaller than those under the American Kennel Club. One of the characteristic features of the Rough Collie is its head. This is light in relation to the rest of the body, and resembles a blunted wedge tapering smoothly from ears to black nose, with a distinct stop and parallel head planes. The muzzle is well-rounded, and never square. There is considerable variation in the color of the head, however. The eyes are medium-sized and almond-shaped. The ears are supposed to be semi-prick, with the upper third folded over. Ears which do not tip properly are fairly common, and many collies have their ears taped as puppies to encourage them to lay properly. No cutting or surgery is involved. They are similar to a Shetland Sheepdog's, but larger. Once seen, the contrast between the Rough Collie head and that of a Border Collie is immediately apparent, the latter having a considerably shorter muzzle and a more distinct stop between muzzle and forehead. The ruff is also distinctive in distinguishing the two breeds. Temperament: Rough Collies should show no nervousness or aggression, and are generally good with children and other animals. However, they must be well socialized to prevent shyness. They are medium to large-sized dogs, but can be well suited to live in small apartments because of their calm disposition. Like many herding dogs, collies can be fairly vocal, and some are difficult to train not to bark. The amount of herding instinct varies, with some dogs being quite vey and others calmer. Rough Collies are very loyal and may be one family dogs, but are very rarely aggressive or protective beyond barking and providing a visual deterrent. They are typically excellent with children as long as they have been well socialized and trained. They are eager to learn and respond best to a gentle hand. The Rough Collie's long coat has made the breed successful on northern Midwest farms as an able herder and guardian of the farm during the winter. The dog needs to be gradually acclimated to the cold, and a suitable insulated outdoor shelter must be provided for the dog along with ample quality food and a source of unfrozen water. The Rough Collie also relishes playing in the snow with children during the winter months. They guard the farm while the owner is away and are naturally protective of small children. Health: while Rough Collies are generally resilient and healthy, there are some health problems that can affect the breed. Collie eye anomaly, a genetic disease which causes improper development of the eye and possible blindness, is a common ailment in the breed. More rarely, Rough Collies can be affected by progressive retinal atrophy, another genetic disease in which bilateral degeneration of the retina results in progressive vision loss culminating in blindness. Through genetic testing and careful screening program, it would be theoretically possible to eradicate both of these problems in purebred lines. However, certainly in the UK, the Kennel Club does not require these tests to be done either for registration or showing. CEA is so prevalent that elimination of affected dogs except through very slow and careful breeding decisions to avoid shrinking the gene pool more than absolutely necessary. Rough Collie puppies should be screened at an early age by a certified veterinary ophthalmologist to check for CEA. PRA has a later onset and can be detected by DNA test, but is much less widespread than CEA. Note: the UK Kennel Club accredited breeders scheme requires eye tests and recommends the genetic test for this class of members. Canine cyclic neutropenia is a cyclic blood disorder that is usually fatal to affected puppies. The disease is also referred to as grey collie syndrome, due to affected puppies having a pale grey, pinkish grey or beige colouring, none of which are normal Rough Collie colours. Puppies that survive through adulthood are plagued with immune disorders throughout their lives and rarely live more than 3 years. DNA testing can help detect carriers of the recessive gene that causes the disease. Hip dysplasia. As with most of the larger breeds, hip dysplasia is a potential concern for Rough Collies. Although this disease appears to be multigene, careful selection by many breeders is reducing this problem. The UK Kennel Club accredited breeders scheme requires hip scores this class of members. However, a very small proportion of UK registered puppies are bred under this scheme. Hip dysplasia is rare in collies compared to their closest relatives and other breeds of the same size. Rough Collies may carry a mutant MDR1 gene that results in a sensitivity to ivermectin and related drugs. A screening test is used to determine if alternative medications are required. Overdoses from the prescribed medications can result in neurological impairment or even death. This faulty gene is present in several breeds, but is well known among collies. In addition to these problems, all of which can be tested for, there are a number of problems which are thought to be genetic but for which no screening test exists. These include epilepsy, bloat, a tendency towards allergies, and thyroid disorders. Because no DNA tests exist for these disorders, breeders can only do their best to avoid producing them by removing affected dogs from the gene pool. Grooming. The double-layered coat needs to be brushed frequently and thoroughly to keep it in a show condition. Pet dogs need less maintenance but still a significant amount. The profuse coat picks up grass seeds and burrs, and many dogs tend to mat to some degree, particularly behind the ears, around the collar, and in the pants. Shaving collies is very bad for their skin and some do not regrow any significant amount of hair after being shaved. Spaying and neutering can alter coat texture, making it softer and more prone to matting. Working life, herding. In the 18th century, the collie's natural home was in the Highlands of Scotland, where he had been used for centuries as a sheepdog. The dogs were bred with great care in order to assist their masters in the herding and guarding of their flock. Collies are capable of being keen herders while remaining sensible, flexible family companions, whether as working dogs on a ranch or farm or helping out a suburban owner who keeps a few sheep, goats, or ducks as a hobby. Participation in herding helps preserve the special heritage of the collie and opens up new opportunities for owner and dog. The qualities that make a good herding dog are trainability, adaptability, loyalty, soundness of body and character, agility, gracia are important in many areas, and contribute so much toward making the dog an outstanding companion as well. Throughout the country there are local herding clubs that provide clinics, work days, trials and tests. Several organizations provide herding title programs in which collies regularly participate. A herding instinct test introduces collies and their handlers to herding at the basic level. It is designed to show whether or not a collie, who may have never had any exposure to livestock, still has the natural instinct to perform the function for which the breed was initially created. It is a non-competitive introduction to carefully selected and easily handled livestock under favorably controlled conditions. Activities. Rough Collies can compete in dog agility trials, obedience, showmanship, flyball, tracking, and herding events. Herding instincts and trainability can be measured at non-competitive herding tests. Rough Collies exhibiting basic herding instincts can be trained to compete in herding trials. The breed has also been known to work as search and rescue dogs, therapy dogs and guide dogs for the blind. Notable Rough Collies. Lassie, a line of Rough Collies originally owned by Rudd Weatherwax that have starred in numerous films, multiple television series, a radio program, and has been the subject of various novels and non-fiction works. One of the few animal actors to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Reveal is the name of the current mascot of Texas A&M University. Since Reveal 3 became mascot in 1966, each dog to bear that name has been a Rough Collie. The current mascot is Reveal 8. When she assumed her duties in 2008, she was a 2-year-old female Rough Collie, formerly named Kelly. She was donated by the Rough Collie breeders Julie Hinrichsen and Russell Dyke, owners of Jewel Collies in Topeka, Kansas. Dr. Dakota, was the collie that performed the action shots in the latest Lassie film. Lad, the main hero of Albert Payson Terhune's early 20th century novels about his Sunnybank Rough Collies. Pal, the first Rough Collie to portray Lassie and from whom the Lassie line is descended. Ch. Lawn Loyalty of Belhaven, a 9-month-old Rough Collie who is the youngest dog to ever win the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. Colleen, a Rough Collie from London on Road Rovers. Jezebel, is a Rough Collie in the 2010 movie, Marmaduke. Chester MacDougall, is a Rough Collie that appeared in the promos for Chadwick Stokes' album Simmer Can 2 of State Radio and Dispatch fame. Wilson, a Rough Collie who appears in the Japanese manga series Ginga, Nagabushi Jin. The helpful Rough Collie, from 101 Dalmatians. He leads Pongo, Perdita and the puppies into the safety of a dairy farm somewhere in Hertfordshire. Flo, Charlie B. Barkin's girlfriend in the 1989 Don Bluth film, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Rob Roy and Prudence Prim, famous Snow White Rough Collies owned by President Calvin and First Lady Gracie Coolidge. Laddie, a parody of Lassie on The Simpsons, in the episode entitled The Canine Mutiny. Zeb, dog from Olney, Maryland, popular in the mid-Atlantic states as a spokers dog for collie rescue. Mason, who portrayed the last Lassie in the latest Lassie film. Trigger, who portrayed in 2 parts of Goosebumps episodes, Monster Blood. See also, Collie, Farm Collie, Shetland Sheepdog, Smooth Collie, Border Collie. References. External links, Rough Collie at DMOZ.